What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on Buy Sell Cars TV. Today we're going to be heading over to Manchester, picking up a Mitsubishi Colt, another no reserve car, no mechanical report. It is a bit risky. We've got total like a 400-mile trip, 200 miles one way and then coming back. So for now, let's head over to Reading Station, jump on the train, head to Manchester, and I'll catch up with you once we're at the auction. So I'll see you shortly, guys. Okay, so let's go give you the walk around of this Mitsubishi Colt. And to start with, the biggest thing to note is on the front wings. Got a bit of a dent over there. I don't think that's going to have an impact on opening the door, but something's happened there. It's not the end of the world. Going down the rest of the side over here, it's not looking too bad at all. Now, this is a low mileage car, but at the same time, you have to take into consideration it is a 2004, so it will have battle wounds, it will have some scars. But it's low mileage, so you've got a plus point on that. Over on the passenger side, this side looks really nice, to be honest. Funny thing is, this was marked as a grade 5 car, which means it's in the worst condition that they would rate it. But in all honesty, from what I can see, you've just got a couple of dinks over here on the bonnet, bit of a rusty wiper, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. Very, very fine creases and little marks on the door, but in all honesty, it just needs a really good clean on the outside to bring it up to a good standard in terms of the presentation. But other than that wing over here, I don't think it's really too bad. So thumbs up. So let's check the interior out. Right, so going to the interior, just from first impressions, it actually looks in really good condition. It does need a little bit of hoover, but I don't actually think that this needs a valet. Just looking at the carpets over here, and even more so looking at the carpets at the front, oh, we've got, that is always a bit of a bonus, potentially some service history in there. This car wasn't advertised with service history, but sometimes you're in luck when that's in the car. Looking at it here, just needs a bit of a hoover. We're missing a handle over here, which is the seat lever, so a little bit of an issue, but we might find that in the car, to be honest, because, and do you know what, I think I can see it. Let's check the back. And yeah, first thing I found on the floor, we've got the lever, so we'll get that put back on over there, but for now, let's just leave it on the floor. Looking at the carpets over here, pretty clean in terms of the actual condition, just like I said, a hoover. To be honest with you, so far this is looking like a really good car. So the thing left to do now is start the car, but what I'm going to do first is, we have got a 200-mile drive home, so I think it will be a sensible thing. Well, you should do it anyway, but let's check the water and oil and see how that's looking. Then we're going to hop back in, start the car, and fingers crossed this car's going to get me home. So it looks pretty good over here. The thing I like to see is an engine which hasn't been cleaned, because you can look for any little seepages, any little bits of oil, but no, we've just got bits of dirt around here. Things you'd expect anyway, but let's have a look at the oil while we're here. I actually haven't got a tissue on me, but yeah, oil is looking very, very nice and golden. And even though I can't wipe it, you can see there is plenty of oil in there, so that should be able to get me home. Okay, water is all good as well, so let's hop in, let's start the car, and let's see what we're working with. Right, moment of truth. Let's get the key in, ignition on. Okay, seems to be fine. A little bit of a squeaky belt upon start up, but engine sounds pretty good. Check the clutch out, see how we're doing on that front as well. Yeah, no, the clutch feels nice. Thank goodness for that. When you're buying something and you have a 200-mile drive home, it's a peace of mind to know, one, you've got oil and water in there, two, the car starts and sounds healthy, and three, the clutch has got life on it. Because if you've got a problem, more so with the engine and clutch, you're not making it home. So far, things are looking good. Obviously, it's very early. I'm going to let the car on for 5-10 minutes, get up to temperature, make sure it's okay. Then I'll get the camera set up and we'll talk about why I got this car, and along with the things that I need getting done to this car. And potentially we'll go into the costings as well. So if not right now, later on, depending on what needs to get done, I will let you guys know exactly how much has to get spent on this car. And if it does sell by the end of this video, I'll let you know how much I sold it for as well. So stay tuned, guys. How is the car driving? Well, it's getting dark, so we're going to try and keep it short and sweet, but just pulled out of BCA Manchester, and as you can see, car's driving very, very nice. Obviously, it is expected to some extent because it's done 46,000 miles, But really and truly, when it is a blind buy, there's only so much you can try and guess and figure out and picture together. So until you start the car and drive it, that's when you're going to get a feel for it. So why did I buy this specific car? What made me come all the way to Manchester, 200 miles away on a train to buy this car? There's a couple of reasons. So the first point I want to touch on, which is a massive positive, it's done 46,000 miles. It's a 2004 car, but it's such low mileage, especially at this price point as well of cars. Getting low miles makes a big difference when you're coming to sell cars. I feel you're getting a lot of value for money. Cars these days do 46,000 miles in a matter of years. So this car's 19 years old. So on that front, this is very, very low mileage. The car also had a long MOT. It's valid till April, May next year. So at the current time of filming, it's like 6 or 7 months. So that's a big positive as well. And then the other point which I liked about this car was it was in long-term ownership. So it's a 2-owner car, but the current owner has had it since 2012. Based on the fact it's been in long-term ownership, it's low miles, and just the type of car it is, I felt that it may have been owned by, you know, an elderly person. I can't prove that. Looking at the logbook now, it's been owned by a lady. Also from looking at the logbook, the first owner was a company. Now, from looking at that, looking at the service book, you can see the car's been serviced throughout its life up to like 2016 from the same garage. So if this person bought the car in 2012, it's hard to say, but the fact that it's been serviced at the same garage from the previous owner and the second owner tells me I think this might be a one-owner car. I think that the company owner is also the private owner of this car. I'm going to do some digging into that to find out the sketch, but that's what my gut tells me at this point. You know, from my experience and from my judgment, if I think it's a good car, I'm willing to travel. If the price is right and the car is right and profit's there to be made, then I'm happy to travel, because this business is about turnover. This business is about getting the cars and getting them sold as quickly as possible. So if you see something, get it, you want to buy it. But ultimately, the main reason why I bought this specific car is because I actually had one in stock recently, which I sold, and it sold pretty quickly. It was a similar car, 2 years newer. It was in black, but it had more mileage. It had around 75,000 miles, and that sold pretty quick at 14,995. So this car being a lot low miles, about 30,000 less, I definitely think I can command more of a premium. Price wise, it's sub 2 grand in my opinion. What I'll say is I did get the car cheap. Later on in the video, I'll get into the nitty gritty and talk about the numbers, because I know you want to know how much I paid for this car. But for now, just comment down below. Let me know what you think I paid for this car, and don't cheat and watch the video and then comment. I want you to tell me what you think I paid for this car. What do I need to get done to this car? So it's got an MOT, so I don't need to worry about that, to be honest, because it is quite long. So I'll get the car checked over anyway. What I'll do is I'm going to call up those mechanics that have previously done servicing on this car. Reason being, again, I just have a feeling that the car has been serviced, because the oil looked very, very good. It didn't look like it was 7 years old. So I'm going to give them a call, find out if the car's been serviced. If it has, I'll see if I can get a stamp or some printout off the service. If not, the car's going to get serviced. The other thing which needs doing is obviously get the car cleaned. From looking at it, it definitely doesn't need a deep clean valet. I really think that this car could just go for the standard in and out, get it cleaned very, very quickly, get this car ready for sale. And that is something you do find with cars which are owned by elderly people. They tend to look after the cars. They're not in battered condition. So again, that does lead to the point where I do think maybe this was owned by an older person, who knows. However, I think this will be a nice and easy car to get ready for sale. So what I'm going to do now is get this car taken back to the office. I'm about 190 miles away, so fingers crossed I make it back. But we're going to catch up in a couple of days once everything's been done to the car. When we do catch up, we're going to talk about the facts and figures, because I know you guys love to know exactly how much cars cost and all the margins involved. So I'll give you a breakdown of how much this car cost, along with the money that had to get spent on the car, including things like travel, like getting on the train and coming here, potentially having to fuel the car up on the way back. So you get an exact costing of this car. And like I say, if the car has sold before it goes live, I'll pop onto the screen to tell you how much the car is sold for. So you're going to get a complete breakdown of all the margins and all the costing involved in this car. So I better get this long drive done now, and I'm going to catch up with you guys in a couple of days. So stay tuned. Okay, so it's actually been a couple of weeks since we were last filming, so the car has been cleaned. It might not be 10 out of 10, so Forgive me for that, guys, but let me just give you the walkthrough of the car. So as we saw before, the car wasn't necessarily in the worst state. It just did need a good old clean on the outside. There's nothing drastic to see, to be honest with you. I haven't had any bodywork done on this car. It is all relevant to the price and age of the car, but other than the front wing on the other side, which we noted, you can see it's actually in not that bad condition to start with. So exterior wise, pretty happy with it. Let me show you the interior. Again, nothing too drastic, but let's go check it out now. Right, so as we move to the interior of the car, to be honest, from before, as I mentioned, it wasn't really that much in need of a deep clean, so I did just go for the standard in and out, getting it clean for £20 at the local valeters. So nothing too drastic to see. A little bit of dirt here, but that's just from today. But other than that, the general feel of the interior is it is in very, very good condition relative to the mileage, which is on 46,000. But as I've said before, guys, not every single car you need has to be valeted. Some cars like this, which are already in good condition, can just do with the cheap in and out. And it's the same situation over here in the back. It definitely was a lot cleaner anyway in the rears. I don't think much of it has been used, to be honest with you, but just looking at the overall condition and just the general wear and tear, you can really see this car has been looked after throughout its long-term ownership. So interior wise, I'm very, very happy how things are. As I say, nothing too crazy had to get done to get it ready for sale, but you get the idea. Right, so let's get into all the facts and figures of this car, as well as discussing what needed to get done to this car, what I actually got done, and things obviously I got away with. So let's get into all of those things now. I did touch on earlier in the video about the servicing and how I was going to try and find out if the car had been serviced throughout, but unfortunately I couldn't find that information out. It may have been done, it may not have been done, but I couldn't find out that information, so I had to just go by that the car hasn't been serviced and it needs to be done. So let's get into the costings of this car and talk about what I had to get done. So the initial cost of the car was £375, so that was the hammer price at the auction. Now, as always, there are fees involved. The fees on this car were £181, so that made the actual cost of the car, including all of the fees, at £556 from the auction. Now, there are other costs involved as well, such as your travel costs, getting the car prepped, etc. So let's get into some of those. So getting to the auction, so I had to get a train down there, and that was £52. Then from the train station over to the auction, I had to get a taxi, so that was £15. Now, when I picked up the car, it was a bit low on fuel, obviously a 200-mile drive home, so I had to put £30 of fuel into the car. So then upon getting the car back, obviously we just touched on the servicing, so I had to get that done. Now the service, obviously it was just a minor one, that was £80. Then we had to get the car valeted. Now it was only the cheap in and out job because the car was in pretty good condition to begin with, so that was £20. And then the final cost is obviously advertising. Now again, this fluctuates based on the price you're advertising the car for if you're on the pay-as-you-go package, but just as a guideline for this car, it was £20.70 for the 2 weeks. So that leaves us with a grand total of £773.70. Now, for me, I think that's fantastic. If I take into account this is a good car where I didn't have to do any crazy prep, any crazy repairs, just really getting it serviced and taking it to the car wash, in reality, I think at the mileage of the car at 46,000 miles, that represents tremendous value. Now, just to give you a bit of idea in the margin involved in this car, so retail price of this car, it is sort of closer to your £2,000 mark, but just the way the market is at the moment, we're getting up to Christmas, etc. So I've priced the car currently at £1,695, so that's leaving me off sort of a margin of £921.30. Now obviously that's pre-tax. The car isn't sold as of yet. If it has sold by the time this video goes out, I will pop on the screen to let you know and obviously give you the exact sale price if it's any difference. But that should give you an idea of the margin on this car, as well as the work that was involved to get this car ready for sale. This was an easier car in that sense. The risk was lower because it was low miles, but a couple of things like I mentioned earlier, long-term ownership, MOT was already good on this car. It had about 6 or 7 months at the time. These little things give you a bit of an insight into the car, and in all honesty, I feel like that's why this was a good purchase. I got it for a good price at the auction, and I don't think that this car will stick around for a long time. It's a small engine, it's practical, economical, very low mileage, long-term ownership, serviced with a good MOT. This car shouldn't hang about. So hopefully that's given you an insight into this car. Like I say, nothing crazy at all, but we like that because it means less work, good margins. But on that positive note, guys, I'm going to end today's video here. Don't forget guys, check out my Instagram and TikTok as well, at Buy Sell Cars TV. A lot of daily content on my Instagram as well, and obviously TikTok, you get your snippets of these videos, so definitely check that out as well guys. But I hope this one's been insightful for you guys and giving you a little bit of a background into buying these types of cars from auction. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care guys.